Hey, it's Michael. All right. Hey, thanks for having me on tonight. I got a few listeners here from here to Florida. I'm trying to help out a lot of men and women around this nice planet that we reside on. And I have a few questions.
You still know men that are just men and women that are just women? Wow.
Yeah, only because, TJ, I go around telling people they're men and women. They're not persons. I'm not going to address you as persons. And they look at me funny, but then I say, don't believe me, go and look it up. And that's how we get this whole thing started is.
Yeah. Well, it shows you how gullible people are, because also on Facebook there's 16 different genders of men and women too. So that's how insanely people can fall into a trap.
Yeah, and that's the other thing I learned today, that I am asking more questions about defining legal terms in the courtroom, and it's freaking the judges out. These support magistrates, they're like, no, it's already defined. I'm like, under what law? Under what pretense are we doing? Are we doing Black's Law Book? Are we doing the Law Dictionary? And they just look at me and go, I don't know if I want to deal with this. But today we had kind of a breakthrough in court. And I wanted to share this because my friends and I have been studying, and we're premium members at urlaw.org. We went deeper within the past 2 weeks of being fully immersed in your knowledge of contract law and contract courts. So now we're going in, we're quizzing each other, we're talking about it on a daily basis, we're on 6 hours on the phone, because this is not a joke to us, because we see the value in understanding our rights as men and women, and not as a fictional character. So we've gone through the whole ACN, we did the Minnesota certificate, we're working our way backward. I actually just lost my driver's license today. And people are questioning me like, well, don't you have to go get a job? I'm like, no, I'm a traveler, and I'm a free man. And they just look at me and like, yeah, but you need. I'm like, when you do commercial, when you do commerce, you need, and it kind of backs that idea of that straw man, that fictional character. At this point, no one usually has any idea what I'm talking about. They all think I'm crazy. But then I ask them the one question that kind of gets everybody: why do you have 2 birth certificates? Why is there a live, and then why is there a derived one from the live? And they look at me like okay, go look it up. Which one do you have? And then they come back to me 2 days later and say, you were right. I do have 2 birth certificates, and I want to know more. So we're getting more people. We're opening the minds and the awareness.
Great. You want to know a great place to do stuff like that? Is if you go down to the recorder's office where they file for marriage licenses. Yeah. And watch these couples. They're in there holding hands. They're all cutesy and everything. And they're about to give away their estate to the state, thinking that they're required to get a license to get married. And they're not. You can speak to most priests. They'll tell you, yes, you can do it all in the Bible with witnesses. And the Federal Rules of Evidence still supports that is a valid license. No, it's not a license. It's a recognition of a marriage. You just have to have that evidence. So the federal rules even acknowledge it. Why are you doing it? And what do you need? What, did you have to go to training to learn how to be married? I mean, I'm sure most people probably need it. It's like saying you have to go through driver's school to learn to drive. Well, that might be true to learn how to drive, but it doesn't mean just because you have the piece of paper you won't get into a wreck. So why are you going to the state and asking to get married? Who the hell are they?
And that's a great question to pose. Is why are you signing your name on another contract? I've listened to the last few callers about signing their signatures on more contracts. We have that option because we're living in the private, that we don't need to do that. That's on us to decide if we want to act in the private or the public.
Or in which capacity you want to sign if you do, so that you can receive the benefit without accepting the liability, which you're not supposed to have to accept.
Right, and that's the whole without prejudice signature, or what we're doing now is signing documents without prejudice above the signature, and or a man, Michael John Schrader, waived none, all rights reserved, none waived, and I'm putting that on all documents here on out. And people are, I'm actually getting questions from the banks. They said you can't do that. My wife went there and said, no, you're going to do that, and that's how he signs his name. And she knows that I'm going through all this, and we're asking pertinent questions like this. And they said, well, we'll do it this time, but we won't do it again. Tell him that he cannot sign anything other than his signature.
I've done it in court, and they'll bring it up. They're like, well, that means you're not accepting full liability. I said, not me. But the entity is, yeah, that's correct. You're right.
Entity.
The other thing is also, you don't necessarily have to go into that rabbit hole, but you can, the way I try to address it, I've done it with all my kids when they got their licenses, and yes, my kids get them because I don't want to get tased on the side of the highway. When each one of them, both my sons and then recently my wife and I, all went through the exact same thing at the Department of Motor Vehicles when we got licensed. Went down there, we signed without prejudice, UCC 1-308, and each time the lady says, well, you can't sign that way, and I says, I can't? Well, I just did. And I said, and here's the other thing, my legal counsel requires me to sign all documents this way. Are you giving me legal advice now?
Ooh, legal counsel.
Who's your legal counsel, right?
Right. Right.
Well,
no, absolutely.
And then, are you giving me legal advice? That's how I close it. And 3 of those times, the lady just said, go right ahead, proceed. The third one, she says, well, I'm getting my supervisors. Great, bring him on over. And I said the exact same thing to him, and he says, give him the license.
Well,
that legal advice thing is powerful.
It is powerful, and that just happened down at the at my local post office, the federal. The post office that will accept U.S. passports, but found out that they have no idea what a citizen passport was. And they didn't know how to accept it, and I said, you have to treat it like a passport. Go ahead and we signed zeros. We did the whole walkthrough on a legal passport. I'm being by the way, the guinea pig for the group of my esteemed colleagues and I'm the guinea pig going out of the way with getting the driver's license taken away today, going through the whole ANC certification through Minnesota, and then getting down going down the road of getting the citizen, the state citizen passport.
Okay.
So,
let's know how that goes.
No, the one question I have that happened in court today is I asked the support magistrate just to let her know that I was filing an FOIA against her and the lawyer. She looked at me, and I said, I'm going to be requiring your oath of office. Said, do you have your oath of office? Her response to me was, I don't have an oath of office. And she said that on the record, TJ. She said that on the record. So I now think, well, it means that she has no subject matter jurisdiction at this point. They just lost all subject matter jurisdiction in the courtroom. So then I said, on top of that, I'm also going to check into your surety bond and make sure that your surety bond is validated and is and that there is res. I think that was that the right word? Res. There was res on it. There was some kind of what do you call it?
I mean, res is a word, but I don't know if that's how you're trying to use it.
Yeah, no, and I might have used it wrong, but I asked her. I said, you do. I'm going to look into this.
A res is the substance that's inside of a trust, or it could be the collateral, for example.
Okay, all right. And I was talking about the trust to her before I was doing the FOIA, and then I asked her if this is the case, I will put a legal notice out. I'm just letting you know from a man to a woman that I'm giving you an opportunity to settle this case right now off of the oath, off of the bond that was attached to this certificate or this complaint. And it was already, I went through and I found the defects in the contract that my ex-wife and I had signed, and I actually caught the defect, brought it up in court, and that's all I had to do, because then the support magistrate went after the defect in the paperwork and stated things that now this can't happen, you can't do this. I just had $14,000 in arrears dropped to $4,500 in a matter of a second because I brought it from being a defendant to the claimant. Mm-hmm. So I switched the contract over, just like you had stated in your verbiage. When you accept the contract and you proceed and you give value to receive value, that means something. And the support magistrate looked at me and says, I hear you. And so I motioned to vacate under fraudulent numbers given to the court because she was under the penalty of perjury. Yeah. And she said, objection noted. Thank you very much for your time. So I found the defect. I left on that. I left the lawyer shaking because he didn't know what I was talking about with being an equity court, bringing up 27 CFR 72.11, all crimes are commercial crimes. They didn't know what to do. So now I kind of backed them in the corner, but I could not have done it without listening to the remedies and your vernacular, how you explain how a remedy in a situation like this is so important, and what is meant by being in their court. Serving the ball back to them. They serve it to you. You accept. Now you decline. Now you give a new contract. It's just like that. And when you explained it like that, the light bulb went off, and all three of us, we were having a conference call, and all three of us go, stop, put TJ on pause. What did he just say? And we had to rewind it, and that's when the light bulbs went off. It was like, we're going after this, and we're going after it with some veracity. So thank you very much for giving us it's knowledge. Knowledge is the power. I couldn't have done it without you and these group of men that are huge supporters. So, I mean, I got one guy right now on video chat that's listening word to word that we're doing. So everybody is thankful. So thank you very much.
Listen, I tell you, I know I appreciate the appreciation, but I appreciate the members more who go out and do something with it, because it's really kind of just banter and talk until somebody does something with it. And the real heroes here are those who really take it and own it and make it their own and put it in their own words instead of looking for as a script, because that's what you've been given your whole life, is stand up, say your name, pledge allegiance to the flag, just follow. You're taking it beyond that to where you're taking your understanding and you're implementing it, and that's where power happens, where you become the creator. It gets into almost a biblical sense that, we all have creative power, creation power, in fact. And that's out of the book of John. And there's no joke about that. But we also perish for a lack of knowledge. So gaining knowledge and implementing it and using it is the key. It's not the script.
No, it's not. You were right it's not about wrong or right, TJ. When I tell people it's not about wrong or right, it doesn't matter if you're going in and you got a traffic ticket or a criminal. All criminal are all equity. It's all coming back to equity and contracts. And once you understand that, then you will take that knowledge further, and you will look at the entire world. You're right, coming up through school systems. We were only designed to listen. We were designed, 30 in a class. Okay, bell rang. Go to the next class. Go there. Don't say anything. Sit down. You learned what we teach you. Well, we learned 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago. That has no meaning or no relevance nowadays.
That's why my kids homeschooled. Now they're going on to doing some colleges. And they're like, Dad, this stuff's easy. I said, yeah, we made it hard for you. But there was a reason, so that you could think for yourself. And you could outsmart these guys, and they do. And
that's what it is. Like you said before, these lawyers are not taught contract law. They come in knowing procedure.
They don't even know that contract law exists sometimes.
I know that, and I noticed that from the lawyer. He didn't object to anything that was said across the board, because I objected to everything. Objection. I'm smiling. I'm pointing at her. Objection. I'm going to object to this, and I made it kind of like I made it more of a fantastic place to be. And after everything was said and done, the officer that stands guard in the room with us came out and said, I don't have any idea what you were talking about in there. She goes, I have never heard anybody talk about things like this. I've been doing the courtroom for 15, 18 years. I don't know what you're talking about. With claim and contracts. And this is not normal procedure. I learned a lot. Thank you for educating me. This is the officer that came to me. And I'm like, not a problem. This is what we need to know. We need to get back to understanding our freedoms. And America needs to start standing up for our rights. And I keep telling people that. Where is the statue of what? Liberty? It's on an island. In the what? In the water. It's there for a reason, people. Everybody needs to wake up and start seeing the reality that we live in. And this is the reality.
Why most federal courthouses are on a street that has something to do with water.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Yep. Federal building in Portland. It looks like an upside-down sailing ship, and runs right next to it is Salmon Street.
Yeah,
and they give you all the clues. They tell you everything. The walls inside the atrium that you walk into is beautiful, but they have flowing water going down all the walls.
Yeah. Yeah. They do. They give it to you. We just don't. Again, TJ, you said it perfect in one of your sample messages on YouTube, that we don't understand the vernacular. We were taught to go through school to learn that a bank is a bank. Well, guess what? It's got 3 different meanings. The United States of America has 3 different meanings. Nobody understands that until we start pulling up things like, hey, definitions of the U.S. of A, or the United States. How many definitions does that have? A person. Start looking these up, and people are starting to be like, That's not what I was taught in school. No, that's not. You were taught the slave language. You were taught to understand and be derived from authority and listen to authority. You're a sheep. Go this way. Go this way. We need sheep to propagate this planet so that, the rich stay rich and the powerful stay powerful. They don't want the slaves to run away. I love when you said that. Why would they want the slaves to get away?
There's actually a name for it. It's called industrial education, because they need good industrial workers, just productive enough to produce and keep feeding the system.
That's right. And it's a big system. But luckily, everybody, TJ, because of your knowledge and your education, and because of what you're putting out to the world through these video messages, YouTube, social media, blogs, people are waking up. And I'm going to tell you from my perspective, I've got 3 or 4 other guys that I'm working with. 2 of them are waiting for me, the guinea pig, to go forward and give them good news about claims and about contract law. And now I just told them what happened today, and they are just enamored. They're like school boys and girls before the first day of school. You got to be kidding me.
You tell them, and if they're listening, I'm telling them, you won't learn until you do. You can study and study and study, but until you've been through the fire, you don't know what the heat feels like.
Amen.
And
absolutely.
Just be with. You've got to put. Use my terms. That you got to put your balls on the line. And know that you'll be fine. You'll make.
So far, it's happening. I'm proof of it. I know all these people are. Well, where's the proof? Where are the people with the positive stories? Here's a person with a positive story. It happened today at 3:00 p.m. in New York. In New York, because I'm dealing with New York law, because the magistrate's here. She told me that she was a court of statute. So going off of what I know from law and statutes, we are in a court of equity then, ma'am, right? We're talking about monies. We're talking about property. This is a child support back arrears. Am I not right? Had her in a corner. She didn't know what to say. So again, just knowing the information and going over and over and hearing you, it doesn't matter if you repeat yourself, because most of the time that you say something, 10, 20 minutes later in another video, you're saying it a different way, and then it clicks for people. Oh, it clicked for me the first time. Nope, it clicked for this guy the 4th time. So light bulbs go off, and they're going off now. So thank you for all of your education and your drive and your stamina. You're pushing us.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I do appreciate it.
So thanks for answering the questions. I know I didn't get a lot of questions in. I know the oaths of office and the surety. We have to learn a little bit more about it, and we're willing to go down that road, because now that we've got some more free time, we got a month before everybody goes back to court now. We're going to go ahead and get into. My buddy wants to do the syntax course. He wants to talk to you about that. I want to get into it and do the mortgage, because now I'm interested in mortgages and how to clear that debt, knowing that I am coming from a private residence, so as opposed to being in the public. So again, there's a lot to move forward, and this is just going to go deeper. There's another rabbit hole off the rabbit hole. So thank you.
Great, thanks, Michael.
Yeah, right. Take it easy, TJ.
Wow.